welcome to the Orlando Adventures podcast. I am your host, Russ, and I am here to take you on a journey, an adventure, if you will, around Orlando, Florida. So, I have been wanting to do this for a little while. I love Orlando. I've been there quite a few times. I've been there 7 times, to be precise, up to this point. And anyone who knows me will know that one of my favourite topics of conversation is Orlando, Florida, and everything about it. I am probably an absolute pain when it comes to talking about it constantly, talking about rides, talking about food, talking about this, that, and the other. I just love everything about it. So what better place to come and talk to all of you guys about what it is I love about Florida and Orlando, and all the parks, and also everything else in and around Orlando as well. Because there is more to Orlando than just the Disney bubble or the Universal bubble. There are more theme parks. There are other things to do, and it can be a really relaxing holiday, which probably sounds mad to a lot of people because everyone who's probably been to Orlando has probably come back from it saying they need another holiday. That seems to be a recurring theme. But yeah, so basically, in terms of what I wanted to make this podcast for, why is it I wanted to do it? Well, I wanted to have this as a place to go. If you were booking maybe your first holiday to Orlando, and you wanted to find out information, you wanted somewhere to go and listen to someone and other people as well who have had experiences of going to Orlando and booking it, going to the different parks, doing the different activities, and I really wanted to have this all in one place. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there which do like a Disney podcast or a Universal podcast, but I wanted to do it as kind of all of Orlando. So not really niching down at all, which is completely against what everyone says to do when making a podcast. But you know what? I'm fine with that. I just want to come on here and talk about something that I love doing, somewhere I love going, and that's what it's going to be about. So I am planning to release an episode weekly, every Wednesday. So hopefully I do that. Hopefully I manage it. I'm sure I will. And I've already got into who the podcast is going to be for, but like not just the first timers. Like my last trip, I went for my 7th time, and I still spent countless hours doing research and like watching videos and listening to podcasts and reading blogs and reading articles and trawling through like TripAdvisor boards and stuff like that, because I love listening and reading and watching all about Orlando. And the thing is, you could go on a holiday there once and you can have a different experience to somebody else who goes at exactly the same time as you. I've been 7 times and I've never had the same holiday twice. That is fair to say, because it's always evolving. There's always new rides, and potentially there's new parks as well. So depending on where you go, sometimes you might go on a Disney holiday, sometimes you might go on a Universal holiday, sometimes you might do the hybrid holiday, and you might do both. So we can really get into that as a whole, and I'd love it if you guys were like, I want you to discuss this in particular, and I'll go into it. I'll do a deep dive into some stuff. Some stuff, it isn't as big a topic, so we'll go into it. But we're not going to like do an hour-long episode on, I don't know, hiring a car in Orlando, because it's not an hour-long topic. You know what I mean? So we've discussed why it is I want to make the podcast. And who is it I want to be listening to this? Well, anyone who's got an interest in Disney, Universal, Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, Orlando as a whole. The thing is, as we all know, this often is the holiday of a lifetime. And for those of us who are lucky to have been, it is the holiday of a lifetime. And then we end up going back again. And then we end up going back again and again and again and again. And this seems to be a common thing. Like, it's not just me. And it's if you fall into that category, know that you're not alone. There are a lot of people out there who end up doing the same thing and love going to Orlando and experiencing all of what it's all about. Um, so just to kind of get into what I'm all about a little bit, kind of why it is I love going to Florida, why it is I keep going back. Like I said, I've been 7 times. The first time I went was in 1999, which feels a scarily long time ago. I went in 1999. I would have been 5 at the time. And so obviously I went with my family. I went with my parents and my brother at the time. And that genuinely is one of the first memories I have from, like, my life. Obviously I do have, like, previous memories to that, but like, in terms of real memories that I could, like, kind of recall, that's one of my first ones. And that, again, we'll get into it, but that is really, really what I find Orlando to be about. It's about making memories with, like, the people you love, your family and your friends, and just always having a good time. And that's what we're all about. Like, you save up to go on these magical trips, and you go there for, like, I don't know, 10, 14, 21 days, and you always have the best time. We all get a bit tired in the parks, I'm sure, and we all, like, have those times we all kind of, like, get a bit grouchy and fall out of each other or whatever, but, like, ultimately you come back from it and you've got the best memories of some of the best times that you've had in a theme park with other people. And I can think of so many moments and so many times in my life, of the times that I've gone to Orlando, and I've got, like, memories for life. You know what I mean? So I'll get into that. Sorry, 1999 was the first time I went. The second time I went in 2008. So a little while after. 9 years later. And again, I went with my parents, my brother, and we went with a couple of my dad's cousin and his wife as well. So that was a slightly bigger group, which was really nice. It was a really good holiday. I obviously remember that a lot more than I did the 1999 one, and I was older, so I could go on a lot more. I can't even think how old I would have been then, 14 maybe. So yeah, I'd have been able to go on everything realistically. And I'm kind of just getting into roller coasters a bit at that point. So getting into going on bigger roller coasters, and I'm quite the. I'm not going to say I'm an adrenaline junkie, because I'm not going to go and jump out of a plane or something. It's just not. I'm probably not going to do it. But I'm very happy to go on any roller coaster or any big ride. There's a couple out there which probably are going to, like. I'm going to have to think twice about going on. Not roller coasters. It'll be Drop Towers, and the one that comes to mind is Falcon's Fury at Busch Gardens, which I have done, but it's not one of my favourite experiences in my life, if I'm honest with you. So the last time I went, I wasn't sad that it was closed. So 2008. The next time I went in 2015. I went with my family again. Okay, that was, again, it was a really nice holiday. It was really good. It was brilliant. One of the main reasons we wanted to go, I was a big Harry Potter fan growing up, and my mum was as well. I always remember walking out of the park in 2008, going down the moving walkways of Universal at the time, and seeing all of the advertisements for the Wizarding World being built at the time, because I think 2008 Jaws was still there, so, like, Gringotts wasn't even a thing at that point. So seeing all of the announcements and advertisements for the Wizarding World coming was amazing. So that was a big draw for us to go in 2015. We obviously went then. Loved the Harry Potter stuff. like the first time, and like that is one of the best memories that I have. Walking into Diagon Alley for the first time was unbelievable, absolutely unreal. Walking into Hogsmeade for the first time, again, unbelievable. A, like just magical. Not to cliche it, but like a really really magical memory and experience. And one of my favourite things actually is seeing other people's reaction when you go into Diagon Alley when they're a big Harry Potter fan, which an awful lot of people are. So this is kind of when my Orlando trips began to snowball a little bit. So I then went in 2016. So I kind of came back from that one and booked a holiday immediately because I loved it so much. So I went in 2016. I went with myself and two of my friends. So the three of us went, and that is one of the best holidays I've ever had. One of the best experiences I've ever had. We had an incredible time. All of us were big roller coaster fans. We all used to be Merlin annual pass holders, so we used to go to Thorpe Park a scarily large amount. Alton Towers we used to go to a lot as well. So we're well into roller coasters. So we were well up for going in 2016 and experiencing all of the rides. We did Universal, Islands of Adventure. We didn't do a Disney park. We did a Universal holiday more based on cost, as I'm sure we can get into, and a lot of you have probably done the same or opposite. We did that. We also did Busch Gardens. We did SeaWorld as well. It was very much a trip planned for Universal, just because those were the rides that kind of really really appealed to us the most at that point in our lives. And yeah, that was a fantastic trip. We next went in 2018, went with them again. Again, really, really good time. And it's one of those, you kind of get a little bit older, but also more rides have opened at that point. So more content, and more to go and see, more to go and explore. I followed that up with a trip in 2019. It was a slightly more different trip, like kind of similar parks again, but I didn't do as much like kind of roller coaster. It was a bit more like just taking in the sights and sounds of the parks a little bit more. I did a little trip to Miami in there, and various other things around Orlando as well. And then my most recent trip, I had planned on going. I think it was in 2021. I think it was 21, but COVID. Yeah, the C word. And then we ended up going last year, so 2023. That was I went with my family. This was the first time obviously I've been with my family in years on holiday at this point. So I went with my parents, my brother, my partner, and myself. And we had a brilliant time. We did Universal, we did Islands of Adventure, we also did Hollywood Studios, we did Epcot, I did Busch Gardens and SeaWorld as well. It was a busy holiday, and I went for 11 days. My girlfriend was there for 9 days, I think. We crammed in a lot in 9 days. I think there was one, inverted commas, rest day in there. Yeah, that was busy. That was a busy holiday, and there's a lot of parks and a lot of roller coasters. But it was fantastic. It was great, and we had a really, really good time. It was great. Kind of, I never really used to be into Star Wars that much, but I kind of over the past 4 or 5 years have got into Star Wars quite a lot. So being able to go to Hollywood Studios and go to Galaxy's Edge, and go on Rise of the Resistance, which genuinely, like, I'm a big Harry Potter fan, but that was going to Galaxy's Edge and experiencing that was right up there with the experience of going into Diagon Alley and Escape from Gringotts. So immersive. Like, I would go as far to say that was the best experience, because I wouldn't even class it as just the ride. Like the moment you got in the the, the queue proper, from the moment you got into that to the moment you exited the ride, like, was all an experience. Like, unbelievable, unbelievable. But we'll get into that in another episode, no doubt. Again, Smuggler's Run, really enjoyed being able to go on the Millennium Falcon as well. That's that's the kind of things that you go to Orlando for. You want to be able to go and experience the things from the films, and that was really fun. So we did that, but also we went to Epcot. The main reason for wanting to go to Epcot is that I'm a huge Marvel fan, so really, really wanted to go to Cosmic Rewind. I'll get into it. I'm going to be honest with you, I had a little bit of a nightmare with it. This was our first day, so I'd done my research, and the thing is, like, I didn't know a lot about the way of doing Disney, which I know sounds kind of weird, but, like, I wasn't up to date necessarily on how to do Disney. I knew Universal, I knew how to do that. I could probably do that with my eyes closed. But Disney felt like it felt like I don't know, a bit more involved. You had to have the apps. There was like talks of Lightning Lanes and Genie Plus, and I can't even remember what it was called. The like doing the virtual booking, the virtual queue. So, like, I'd done my research and worked out that we had to do this virtual queue for Cosmic Rewind. So I did the getting up at 7 a.m. To, like, refresh the page and get us in the queue, basically. And I clicked it, I think, within about 3 seconds of 7 o'clock. And it told me it was fully booked. Which, considering that was the whole reason, as much as anything, that we wanted to go to the park, that was a bit of a shocker. So, as any of you will know, there's a second booking slot at, I think, 1 p.m. So we're in the park at 1 p.m. and I'm like, right, we've got to get on it. So 1 o'clock come, and we did manage to get a space. But it was telling us, and we'd been there since rope drop, because we were keen and wanted to get to the park. So we got in the queue, got in the virtual queue anyway, and that said it was going to be, I think it was going to be like a 4 to 4.5 hour return time, which I didn't mean was awful. Like, it was, it still meant that we were going to be doing a fairly long day, because we're going to be there till like 5 o'clock. Well, that got pushed back, and it got pushed back, and it got pushed back, and pushed back, and pushed back again, until finally, I think it said at about maybe 7:30 that it's our time. So cool, 7:30's come. Like, it's been a long day, but considering we've travelled yesterday at this point, and we're all pretty tired, but we came here to do Cosmic Rewind, so we're going to do it. So we go and get in the queue, and this doesn't happen all the time, okay? But it can happen, okay? It happens. The ride broke down while we were in the queue. So not only have we waited hours to get on this ride, it then broke down while we were in the queue, and probably was down for like maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. So we're still in the queue. We got out of the ride at about 9:10. It was a long day. What I will say is it absolutely was worth it, because that is one of my favourite rides I've ever been on. Don't get me wrong, in the queue I'm thinking, I've had enough. I've had enough today. I'm ready to go to bed. But for those 2 minutes that I was on that ride and September was playing, that was our ride song, I was one of the happiest I'd ever been. I smiled my head off the entire ride and had the best time. And I'm so glad that we waited it out and we stuck it out and we did it. And I want to do it again so badly. So that was that was not the best experience, but the ride was sensational. So that was the trips that I've done to Orlando. Obviously, there's always other trips brewing. If it was down to me, I would be going as frequently as possible. But sometimes it doesn't work like that, but that's fine. So, That's a little bit about me, but just to get into kind of just breaking down other parts about what my favorite, why it is I go to Orlando. My favorite park, I'd have to say, my favorite park is Islands of Adventure. Um, and that could be changed. It could be changed, but currently I would say Islands of Adventure. Like I said, I'm a big Marvel fan, and although it's not MCU, um, I enjoy the Marvel. Um, I can't remember what it's called. The comic book area. I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. I'm big Spider-Man fan, so I enjoy that ride. I like Doctor Doom. I think Doctor Doom's a fun ride. Big fan of those. I said I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so Forbidden Journey. I think it's a great ride concept. I think it looks great, and I love seeing the castle and seeing Hogwarts at night is fantastic. Um, and this was my first trip last year experiencing Hagrid's. I actually, when I went in 2019, I was there for the day Hagrid's opened, and I have never, and I will never, see a queue like it ever again. Anyone who knows Islands of Adventure will know where Hagrid's is. So the entrance to the ride goes all the way back through Lost Continent. It goes all the way back through Seuss Landing, and then to like the port of entry area. Well, the queue ran from Hagrid's through Lost Continent, through Seuss Landing, through port of entry to Marvel Superhero Island. That's the name of it. It ran to there. The queue time was 12 hours and I got there at rope drop. No, thank you. That was madness. So I didn't go on it in 2019. So I got to go on it in our last trip in 23, and I loved it. I loved it so much. It was a fantastic ride, and I will say it was elevated by going on it at night as well. Going on it at night was a different level for me. And the other thing I got to experience was the Velocicoaster, which I appreciate is probably not for everyone. It's quite an intense roller coaster. The lap bar and the going upside down over the water, the the big top hat as well, the fast launches. I mean, I'm listing all the stuff I like, but I'm probably listing the stuff that people don't like at the same time. Um, I loved it, and it leads me on to that. That currently would be my favourite ride, or it would certainly be my favourite roller coaster. I I loved it. I think I went on it 3 times in the trip. The queues were fairly long, but we were happy to queue for it every time. And that at night as well was was unbelievable, unbelievable. My best theme park memory, I would probably say, like that. Those 2 minutes that I went on Guardians of the Galaxy, I think is right up there because I remember just like smiling and laughing so much that that's a memory that'll live with me forever, and that is indicative of an Orlando trip. So many good memories, as I touched on earlier, that you kind of make these memories and they do live with you forever. And you can always look back and be like, do you remember when we did this? Or do you remember when we went on that? Or you remember when we went there? I loved it. Um, and the last thing, just to touch on me, my favourite thing to do outside of a theme park in Orlando, I really, really enjoy doing an airboat tour. And I know quite a lot of people, like I talk to people about Orlando a lot, and quite a lot of people haven't done it. And to me, I find it mad because like it's amazing. um, I love just being like on a hot Florida day, going out on an airboat around a lake, and going fairly fast and like whizzing around the water and all the like going through the reeds and stuff, and then you've got a guide with you and he'll be pointing out the wildlife, so we point out the birds, and we'll try and find some alligators. You might see some turtles, or you might see something else. I don't know. But every time I've done it, and I think I think off the top of my head, I have done it 4 times, maybe 5, 4 or 5 times, and every single time it's always a fantastic experience. I really enjoy it, and anyone who's going to Orlando, I would 100% advise to do it. But we'll get into that on another episode. I can go through the ones that I've been to, and give you a bit of an outline. And inevitably, I'll put some pictures up of that on my Instagram at some point. The Instagram handle, in case any of you haven't seen it yet, is Orlando Adventures Podcast. Yeah, so that's a summarization of what this podcast is going to be all about. It's a little bit of an outline of me, what kind of I'm into, and why it is I like Orlando. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'd love you guys to give me some ideas of stuff that you want me to talk about ultimately. Because the thing is, I can talk for days. I can talk for days about my experiences, but if there is stuff that you want to know in particular about you got an upcoming trip and you're not sure on something, then I'll do an episode on it. Why not? I will be doing episodes, doing a deep dive into a walkthrough of all of the parks because it's great fun to listen to. It's great fun to talk about as well. I'll be doing all that. I'll go into SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, talking about the rides there. I'll do episodes on like International Drive. I'll do research into hotels, where to stay. There's a number of different ways of doing an Orlando holiday, and I can go into that. Just to briefly touch on it, obviously you can do the Disney holiday, and you can stay on resort, or you can do a Universal holiday and stay on resort there. Alternatively, there is the route that you either stay in a standard off-site hotel, or you stay in an Airbnb, which is what I did on my last trip, and I loved it. I've always had a car when we've gone out there, and I can't imagine doing it another way, but I'm sure if you did, it would be fantastic still. If you were on site, I think it would be brilliant. But, we're going to get into that in other episodes for sure. So, thank you all for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast and check out my Instagram page, which is at Orlando Adventures Podcast. Like and comment any of the content. Drop me a DM if you've got some topics that you want me to discuss, anything that you're not sure on, anything you just want to chat about Orlando with someone. Well, I'm the guy to talk to. I'm more than happy to have a discussion about anything Orlando. I love it. I love everything about it. I really, really do. So yeah, please do drop me a DM for any topics you want me to discuss. I will put out maybe an Instagram story, and I'll put up a little box for like Q&A discussions. I also a couple other things I do want to touch on before I go. I do this. I like to talk, and this is why I've made a podcast, because I like to talk, but I love talking about Orlando. I've then got to try and wind back to what it is I was actually going to say. There was a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. I really, really want to try and get some guests on the podcast at some point. When that'll be, I don't know. Ultimately, we've got so many topics I can talk about, and so many things I can go into. But I would love to get some guests on the podcast. Whether or not that is just straight up, you guys, and get some trip reports from you guys, and I can ask you like what your experiences were, and what your favourite things were, and what you did. So I'd love to be able to do that. So if anyone was keen on coming on the podcast, please do let me know, because I would really, really like to do that. The other thing, I would love to get some fellow YouTubers and podcasters on the pod, because these guys do the same as what I'm planning on doing. I follow a few people on YouTube, and that's where I've always got like my bulk of information from before I've gone on trips. That is probably my most watched thing on YouTube. Starting from the top, the first person that I followed on YouTube in regards to Orlando was Tim Tracker, as I'm sure a lot of you have done and still do. My next one is Rick's Flicks. I followed Rick's Flicks from about day one, I think. From the dropping the pulling the doors, dropping the top on the Jeep, those kind of days. So if anyone knows that, you're the OGs on his channel. Um, I'm a really big fan of the Challengers vlogs. I followed them for, I reckon, probably 5 or 6 years. And my most recent one, which I watch, and I do watch these guys a lot because I love their content, is T&J Travels. Um, I love their vlogs. They're real. It's just like they're a real couple. Um, and they're just doing straight up vlogs, walking around the parks, showing what they're eating, and I got a lot of time for them. And their content on Instagram is really good as well. But anyway, thank you again, and I will speak to you